So, before I begin, dear participants, a few quick housekeeping points to keep in mind. Kindly keep your microphones muted to ensure a smooth experience for everyone. We encourage you to actively participate by sharing your thoughts and questions, and do stay with us until the very end, as we'll be also, today's session is something a lot of high performers quietly struggle with but rarely talk about: overthinking to overpowering, breaking the anxiety loop in overachievers. Because let's be honest, the smarter and more aware you are, the harder it becomes to switch your mind off. Overthinking doesn't come from lack of capability, it often comes from too much awareness, too many possibilities, and the pressure to get it just right. To help us unpack this, we have someone who brings deep experience in understanding people, performance, and behavior in personal spaces. Let me introduce you to Kavita Kota ma'am. Kavita ma'am comes with extensive experience in talent development, leadership capabilities, and coaching professionals across different stages of their careers. Her focus She focuses on helping in individuals move from internal chaos to clarity, especially in high pressure environments. Today, she'll help us understand why achievers overthink, how decision fatigue builds up, and most importantly, how to break that loop. Kavita ma'am, we are really glad to have you here with us, and over to you, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Insia, for all those wonderful words. Um, well, so overthinking, right? I'm just thinking to myself, what if I overthought so much and didn't bring any content to today's session? How would that be? So appropriate, right? So let me start off with one single question. Um, how would you define overthinking? And back in the days, say 10, 15 years ago, that was not really a thing. Is it one of those very fancy terms that has just come in and everybody is using it? Or is it there existing in the common mind typically? Any answers would be welcome. We don't have a very huge group, so it's lovely to thanks Jairam, Sheila, and Divya for leaving your videos on because it makes me feel great. Okay, let me joke. It makes me not overthink because I feel like I'm actually having people here in front of me. So that's really wonderful. So I'll bounce a question of you. Abhijit, hi, it's good to see you again. All right. So here's a question for you. Is overthinking, and yes, I do have a presentation, all that will come in a while, but meanwhile, it's all about the people conversation. Is overthinking something that's just started now? Or is it something that's always been in existence for the last 15, 20 years? And we are only hearing about it now because, we have these new terms that have come in and there's so much of focus on psychology. So over to you. Use your chat windows and I'm going to pick up on your responses. If there's someone who might want to just unmute and talk, that's great as well. My question is clear? Okay. It's always there, says Jairam. Okay, noted. Then how come we are hearing this word so frequently these days? My Instagram is flooded with these reels about overthinking. I was so tempted to put in one of those really fun videos where the person is going on a constant loop, right? So here's my 2 pence around overthinking and why we hear and see so much of it. Now, this is a concept of sensory input, especially since we've become a world where there is so much information available all around us, right? Every second of the day, you are being bombarded with some or the other information, some or the other gyan is prevalent all over, right? be it Instagram, be it a newspaper, be it, even Instamart bags come with some kind of intelligent quotes. So my question is, how much can we assimilate? We go to work, right? There are people and we have a task. It's a very simple task. It's 1, 2, 3. Hey, let's get this done. But there seems to be people all around us who have better ways to do it, who have a different approach to do it, who's always suggesting, hey, let's pick up this. Why don't we do it like that? And there are so many inputs all around us. Now, how does that make you feel? Let me start off with one quick question, and I would love to hear your responses over chat. How many of you have replayed a conversation after it has happened, let's say 10 times? It's over. I love your smile, Sheila. I know you have something in your head. Okay, so Sheila has been very honest. Jairam also says, okay. This is coming to, everybody saying, hey, it's me too. All right. So let's talk. Is it possible to get rid of it completely? No, absolutely not. Right. Because we are in different times. The way the world is structured, the way the information flows to us it comes from a different place. So what is the method? What do we do to be able to at least manage this thing which we have identified as overthinking? Firstly, I want to rethink the word overthinking as well, right? It has a negative connotation to it. But I don't know if it's a negative thing or it's a person who's working really hard. So I'm going to now pick this piece up and start sharing my screen. There's a little bit about Atulit, and INSEA has given us a fair enough representation of that. So I'll quickly move into some of my content. Now, we are all overachievers and by choice, right? None of us is thinking, hey, today there's too much work. Let me just spend the whole day thinking about it without doing it. But what is the reason that sometimes we are not able to arrive at a decision and quickly execute? I'll share with you an example that very recently I came across. I was coaching a manager, and she says to me, I once delayed giving feedback for 3 weeks because it was the first time, Kavita, you had given me that framework for sharing feedback. I wanted to get it right. There's this team member of mine, who was consistently in every meeting making the same error. And I wanted to ensure that I give him enough inputs so that that is sustainable over a long period of time. So she says to me, I kept thinking, what is the best way to say it? How do I put it into a central framework and, convey it in a way that he gets it right away and sticks to him? Now, by the time she spoke, the problem had doubled, right? So here's a thought. Overthinking feels like preparation, but it often becomes a paralysis. Agree, disagree, show of hands. Overthinking pushes you to paralysis, right? You just don't know what to do. Okay. All right. So you overthink because you care. We've kind of established it, right? The same mind, which is saying, hey, I got to do really well. I need to excel at this and so on. And that is the same mind which gets exhausted by all the things that are happening. That gets exhausted when you're replaying so many decisions, right? Every single thing. You're not thinking deeply. Your thinking is repetitive. It's unproductive. It's basically a thinking loop. So how does that happen? Now, it starts from a good place. We look at the ambition. The ambition is that you desire to win. You desire to be perfect. You want to stay ahead. You don't want to make a mistake, right? But then in your desperate desire to do an extraordinary job, you get exhausted. You keep second guessing yourself multiple number of times. You keep replaying decisions. You keep analyzing outcomes. Agar ye karte to wo hota, kind of a thing. And you keep planning 10 steps ahead where you're imagining the second step, the third step. You've not taken one step forward, but you're just imagining. So that is, the way overthinking plays out. So here's a quick question of self-introspection, right? Think of the last time that you overthought, right? Was it about the past or was it about the future? Interesting. Take a minute to think about it. Okay. Both, Jairam. Okay, that's interesting. Future, future, future. Okay. All of you say you were thinking about the future. Now, was it based on your experiences of the past? So, for example, you did not do a certification exam well, right? Now, in your head, you're thinking that I want to do the next certification better. I want to prepare for that better. But the basis of your thinking remains in the past, right? It remains in, what are your past experiences? You remember that happened, that may happen again. What will I do? And so on and so forth, right? So mostly while your thoughts may be about the future, it's largely based on what happened in the past. Make sense? All right. So what happens and why do we overthink? And, what impacts does it have? So why do we overthink? Let's think about the root cause. First is fear of failure. Second is desire for control. Third and most frequent is perfectionism. And finally, it's the social judgment, right? The log kya kahenge syndrome that keeps coming and hitting you all the time. So what happens? Let's look at a situation where there's a high-performing employee. They triple check their email every single time, right? So you've got a message that pops into your inbox. You know the content, you know how to respond to it. But I'm saying here are your expectations, your ambitions are that you desire to be the best. You want to stay ahead. You want to avoid mistakes, right? And with that, you compose the mail, you read it, you reread it, you reread it, and that whole loop goes on. So I know we're all able to identify ourselves or put ourselves in the shoes of the employee, but think from the other end of the spectrum, right? How are they perceiving it? They perceive it as, hey, here's a simple question that went out to Kavita. I don't know why she takes so long to respond. Okay, seek certainty, absolutely. That additional desire to seek certainty, I'm going to park it under ambition or desire for perfection, right? And then, of course, if you mean that I'm not really sure, I need more clarity, that's an acceptable thing. Okay, right. So let's come back to this employee who's triple checking their email every time. So from their manager's perspective, my thought is that if I, drop an email to Insia, she takes 3 hours to come back to me. Let's just not bother. Let me get that done. Now, I don't go back to Insia. Next time I need some information. And then she thinks, okay, I did something wrong. Let me rethink it carefully. So we have slower decisions. Your creativity reduces. Now, sleep is something, I put in there here because while it is not directly, you don't sleep at your work or something, I'm sure. But that's something which really bothers you when something terrible has happened, when something is really bothering you at work in terms of your performance, sleep cycles get disrupted. Right? Your confidence is shaken. And of course, execution is delayed from the project point of view, from the long-term perspective. And of course, you are now branded that you are a slow performer. Does that make sense? So that's how all of these bottlenecks impact eventually. Now, here's a cycle. It's like a whirlpool, and it's in an infinite loop. I don't know how many of the team here are software or are into software, but I love the usage of the term infinite loop. So before I jump in, let me park and ask you a quick question about what would you be identified, what would you like to be identified as, either in terms of your profession or who you are as a person. So if I were to say, hey Divya, what do you do? What would your response be? Just use the chat window. You could say teacher, you could say lawyer, you could say I'm a politician. Everybody, I'm looking for this response from everyone. Okay, so Megha's a trainer. I'm reading all your responses. Rahila's a trainer, Jairam production engineer, Divya engineer, Deepali's an educator, Darshan engineer, Sujata coach, Sheila's a trainer. Wonderful. Sure. Now, here's my question for you. And my question comes from the place of this iterative circle. Let's say I see a lot of trainers here, and it's the same Jat Baradari as mine, so I'm excited to see all of you. Let's go from, oh wow, Smita, you're a judge. I do not know how all of you better think very deeply. You're one person, I dare not say, don't overthink, just give the sentence. I can't say that to you. All right. So please take all the, suggestions in this session with a pinch of salt. Okay. Coming back to all of the folks who are having this wonderful, there's an important meeting. Meenakshi, you too, please do take care. Do overthink when you're prescribing drugs for people. Don't say Kavita ne kaha tha, don't overthink. Chalo kuch bhi de dete. Right? That wouldn't be nice. Okay. So I'm going back to when you want to do something really well and wonderful. There's an important event in your life. It could be an event you're planning. It could be a presentation that you are doing. It could be one of the biggest meetings of your professional career. How does it go? So you have amazing high expectations. You see yourself shining on that stage, and you are expecting in your head the applause that you will receive and the outcome of it as well. To get there, you do so much of deep planning. You look at the risks. What can I do well? What can I do better? And in the midst of all this planning and over-analyzing, the action gets delayed. Now, you're not able to achieve those targets, and there is so much of pressure that in 2 days, I have this event. Oh my God, I've not completed the preparation. And then with that same mounting pressure and anxiety, you make an attempt to get back control. What happens when you try to get back control? You go right back to deep planning, overthinking. So this is a cycle which keeps happening again and again and again. Look at this. There's a trigger. The trigger is followed by a thought. That thought gives you doubt. It leads to more thinking, more anxiety, and unfortunately, no action. Right? So the fundamental thing that's going wrong here, and I need all of you to understand, is that there's no action towards the end. Let's take an example. You've sent a message to someone, a very important message. There's no reply. Radio silence. If it's a WhatsApp, you're seeing those blue ticks. Now you ask yourself, did I say something wrong? Maybe they are upset. You get panicked. You avoid the follow-up. Right? These are all loops which happen. They're ongoing. They keep occurring again and again and again. Right? Okay. So how do you make it, how do you differentiate? Now imagine me telling you, hey, Guys, we overthink so much. Let's not think at all. Let's just jump and do stuff. Would that make sense to anybody? No, no chance. What differentiates the human beings and say the animals? Maybe I wouldn't say animals really, because animals are very smart as well these days, right? I have kittens in my house which know to knock the door at 7:30 a.m. every single day. All right. And it's not just one set of kittens, it's been about 4 generations now. Every generation knows to knock my door at 7:30 a.m. So I don't really want to say animals are, they don't have that kind of an intelligence. But in my question is, so, we've talked so much about how's the overthinking loop. We've talked about why do we overthink. We understood what is overthinking, right? But my question is, what is the right way of thinking? We're all talking about overthinking, that's fine. But there has to be something which is good thinking, or we are going to call it strategic thinking, right? Now, I love the bottom line. It just says if thinking doesn't lead to action, it's overthinking. Now, you need to solutionize your thought process. You are running into something, you don't know how to do it. You're thinking, okay, should I do it in the A process? Nah, A process might not be right. How about B process? How about C process? And it just goes on and on. If it is not resulting in action, that is overthinking. And I think by the last, 23 minutes that you're with me, we all have decided ki bhaiya, overthinking is not right. So let's now focus on strategic thinking. What is strategic thinking? Strategic thinking is the sharpened acts of thinking which will keep you focused. It will make you action driven. You will have a clear sense of what you want to achieve. You'll be able to take a couple steps forward. Now, I on purpose left out that little bit on time bound. Okay, let me do an experiment. Within 1 second, I'm going to ask you a question, and I have a certain answer that I'm expecting. Be very sure that it might not be the generic answer or the typically expected answer. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, and within a period of 2 seconds, I want that response landing in the chat window. Are you all ready? Your time is 2 seconds. Okay, here's my question. All ready? On your marks? Okay. What is 13 by 2? Tick-tock 1. Tick-tock 2. Okay. You're all saying 7.5, but that's not the answer that I want. No. That's not the answer I want. Okay. Even 6.5 is not my answer. 7.5 तो मैथ्स के हिसाब से भी गलत था, but even 6.5 I don't want. I want a different answer. All right. So now, okay, Sheila's getting into the groove. Awesome. So let me ask you to present the answer of 6. Give me the answer that I'm looking for. I want something. Like, let's say I'm like a Rajamouli. I have a vision. And I want you folks to come up onto that vision and give me my answers. All right? So I'm asking you that question again. What is 13 by 2? Now come on. Rajamouli के level का answer चाहिए मुझे. Or should I be saying Aditya Dhar these days because he's the director that's trending. All right, stop. Okay, Jairam, awesome. This is Wonderful, but I just wanted to point out, did you see that I did not get any responses at all because you were thinking so hard? Now, see the difference between the earlier situation when I didn't give you specific boundaries or expectations, and I said you have 2 seconds. I need you to come, give me an answer. Smita's getting very creative as well. 6 plus half. How awesome is that? Now, this is a very, I do a lot of design thinking workshops as well. And when I ask this question, I've received 2 very unique responses today. I have close to 100+ responses for this. And today I learned 2 more, right? Coming back to overthinking, from this slide, fundamental takeaway is if this doesn't lead to action, it's definitely overthinking. Got it? All right. So, how do we make this paradigm shift? Can I just say, I told you, can you all figure it out? And, guys, stop thinking, stop overthinking, and just structure your thinking well. So think less, execute more, review smarter. Doesn't it annoy you so much when I'm giving you all this meaningless gyan? How do we actionize it, right? There are 3, if I'm to typically think about how does overthinking impact us, it impacts us in 3 areas mainly. One is decision fatigue. We think and think and think, and it causes us so much of exhaustion. Because the ultimate objective is very important for us. We need to achieve it, and we are thinking so much, it causes, one point is decision fatigue. Second is it really reduces your confidence. And then finally, and most importantly, it delays the execution of the task on hand. Does that make sense? All right. So I want to pause for a moment and maybe hear some of your thoughts and ask you, what has overthinking cost you recently? Do you have any experiences that you'd like to share? Please just unmute and talk to me. 13 by 2 is 11. This is interesting. Smita, how did you get that? So any experiences from overthinking? Okay, Dipali has lost sleep. But anyone who wants to describe an incident maybe and say, hey, this is what happened while, this was the situation. Jairam's smile looks like there is an, story behind it. Care to share?
I have a lot. Maybe this session might not be sufficient to explain everything.
Okay. Dekho, this is an ideal example of overthinking, right? What is your objective? Your objective is to share one story. Now, you may have, now again, we are going back to the paradigm shift. Let's say, now you would think that there's this session, there's this lady who's been talking so much, and, I have to give one of the best stories of my life. Nah, give me one story of your life. Anything will do. And one of the fundamental takeaways from the last couple slides is, if we are actioning thinking, it's good thinking.
Yeah, maybe about my health condition, I'm always say kind of a inferior person about my health. So whatever I test, and I'll never believe the test results. So I'll always overthink there might be something beneath happening. So I'll always take my steps with precaution and caution that might harm people around me sometimes. So
Sure. That's a very sensitive matter. I really don't want to give any gyan around it. I'm barely qualified for the medical kind of an approach. But in my head, I think, over the last couple slides, if we've decided on, after thinking, if there is some action that comes out of it, it's strategic thinking, it's thoughtful thinking, it is structured thinking, right? Let's look at 3 fundamental differences between strategic thinking and overthinking. Strategic thinking leads to action. Clearly, this leads to delay. there is a structure in thoughtful thinking or strategic thinking, right? So step one would be this. This would probably lead to something else, and so on and so forth. And the last piece is it would be time bound. So these are the three things about where you can analyze how your thinking is happening. Now, typically, what I like people to do moving from the session, from the 1.5, 90 minutes that I speak, I typically expect you to take back 2 or 3 sentences. That's it. And I've been in this profile for about 15 plus years. And I know no matter how much we prepare, it's the human mind at the other end of the spectrum. You're all humans, right? Ye 90 minute ka gyan, nobody will remember. In school, when we all listened, we took notes and we referred to them. Hence, we remembered all that stuff. But all the corporate training that I do, so I do a lot of work, especially in leadership trainings, because at a certain level of seniority, to make people see things in a different way than they have already been doing for many, many years is very hard. So we don't really expect we give a tool and, everybody comes out with that light around their head and they become Mahagyanis. It'll never happen. So my expectation from every single one of you, and probably I'd love for you to just document it on the chat towards the end of the session. What are those 3 sentences which you picked up? And, I'm a true negotiator. So, ek bhi chalega. But ek to please banta hai, right? And I hope I get that one impactful sentence for each one of you. So fundamentally, after all of this discussion, we see we will be able to identify when we are having overthinking challenges. We'll be able to pause and be self-aware of that. We will realize that when I'm not doing any action out of that plan, it is overthinking. When it is going on and on circularly in a loop, that is overthinking. And when it just doesn't end, that's overthinking, right? So let's take a real workplace scenario that happened to me very, very recently. A team lead needed to present something to the leadership, right? She got one slide deck ready, imagined all the tough questions that all the vertical heads would ask, what her own manager would ask. And then she imagined all the tough questions. She said, no, let me work on it some more. Couple more slides got added. And then it kept on and on. She delayed the finalization of the deck. Now, I can say for sure it was a part of a larger deck. She was given the target of 5 slides. She created around 18 slides. Her idea, I'll go to my manager and maybe they will tell me whether I can take off some of those. But even to go to the manager, she wanted to do an excellent job. She kept thinking, let me change this color, let me change this font, let me do this, right? And she delayed the finalization, she rushed at the last moment, and finally she got the content perfectly. But what happened? The slide deck was wonderful, but while she was presenting, her confidence was shot. That's how the presentation went. She did not sound confidently at all. So here's a question. Where do you think her overthinking started? What was the cause of her overthinking? I want to put in a Sholay dialogue here. Itna sannata kyun hai bhai? Yes, to be perfect, perfecting slides and not practicing delivery, absolutely. So I want to go to a deeper root cause. Yeah, Abhijit, absolutely. The perceived risk, कुछ हो सकता है, I mean something could have happened, what if I fail, what if I don't do it well, right? So this is the most important thing, that even within your own thought patterns, you identify where the overthinking starts. And then, because it's not us, because it's somebody else, ifs and buts, absolutely wasting time, also suggest what she could have done differently. What could she have done differently? Now, because it's somebody else, we can always give the advice. It's not us, right? It's somebody else. So we're good with advice. So come on, let's give advice. Preparation and practice. Okay, practice. But practice किस पे होगा? I mean, on what do you think she would have practiced? She doesn't have content. She's still thinking about the content. So where could she have practiced? Time management. Okay. At what point do you think, drill it in her mind that she's responsible for only that data? So limit the responsibility that she's carrying. Okay. I heard earlier you saying timelines, and I love that metric as well. You know, in my head, one thing that works really well is we all work beautifully with numbers, right? Let's say your math teacher said, hey, you are really good at math, versus, hey, you got 98% in math, which would make a bigger impact. So it's always numbers. The human mind, and you know, I'm deeply into neurosciences and stuff, so you'll be hearing these pieces from me very often. So the human mind is designed in such a way that it responds well to numbers, right? So while you're overthinking, put in the number there. Tell yourself there are 10 days to go for the presentation, and I will finish my first draft of the content by day 3, day 4, day 5, something. Put metrics around it. So everybody who's in the corporate knows duration, escalation percentages, everything is all about metrics. So firstly, let's look at being self-aware, and then following this thinking framework. The first thing is identify where you're overthinking. Okay, first question, are you replaying some conversation that happened in the past? Second question, are you having difficulty in deciding, should I go left, should I go right, what's the approach that I should take? Seeking excessive validation, are you asking 10 different people what's the right approach for this particular thing? And finally, do you have absolute exhaustion without actually doing anything? Now, typically, if these 4 behaviors are coming in, then you're definitely overthinking. Replaying conversations, what's happened is over, but well, you're thinking about it again. You're not able to decide, right? I've had challenges myself in a very typical scenario. Let's say I'm using a ridiculous one, but I love to just do things on such a lighter note. I have someone from my college coming to visit me after 20 years. She's coming over with her family, and I want to super impress them. Okay, now what am I overthinking about? And I want you all to promise me nobody's going to laugh. I am overthinking the menu that I'm going to serve on dinner. Back in the day, I mean, typically I have to say, hamare zamane mein, she loved this, so I should make that, and maybe her kids like this, maybe because she, and the overthinking goes on and on and on. There's this entire piece of me having to go buy, cut, make, do, etc. Personal situation, right? Think of a situation where Sunday you've decided that, okay, you want to go for a movie. Which movie? Everybody overthinking, everybody. If there is an action that comes out of it, then we know it's strategic thinking. Now my question is, if you put a timeline to it, If you have decided that Sunday we are going for the movie, I don't care how many discussions happen. By Sunday, by Saturday, maybe we'll buy the tickets. See, the impact of timelines is what I'm trying to drive to. Okay? There's a huge project that needs to be completed. It's more around the innovation aspect, right? If this were a completely software group, I'd probably talk about a hackathon. But yeah, let me pick up a more generic one. There's a project wherein you have to give in your most creative idea. Same loop. Let's not be stuck in it, right? So this is a framework which will help tell you. Let's look at the timelines or the metrics. Typically, what do we do? 80% of the time we're thinking, we're analyzing, we're going back, forth, and so on. But this framework tells you 20% of the available time, you mostly have the deadlines, right? 20% of the available time, 1/5 of it, you analyze and come up with plan A, version 1. Then at the next level, 60% of the time, whatever is it that you have decided as an action, you test it. And the remaining 20%, learn from your experiences and adjust it. Okay. So I have two questions for you. Now, earlier I spoke about 4 signs that you're overthinking, right? One is you're replaying conversations which have already happened. You're having difficulty in deciding, or you're seeking excessive validation from multiple people, or you're just exhausted mentally without actually the action. Which one of these shows up most for you? Question to the group. Which one of these 4 situations shows up for you? Replaying conversations. Thanks for your response, Divya. That was good. Others are deep in thought. If you give me an answer, that's strategic thinking. If you don't give me an answer, that is overthinking. We'll reframe our approach in this fashion. Okay, no more responses. All right. Replay past, think past, and exhaust about both. Sure, got it. All right. So any thinking that has not resulted in action is overthinking. I'm going to give a bottom line. Now, here's another technique. I'll give you one technique. Okay. Sujata is saying it's replaying conversations as well. Let me give you the first technique, which will help you, end that properly. Give yourself 5 minutes to think and force a decision on the next step. Very simple. So, I worked with a team and essentially I was coaching the product manager there as well. So one of the fun things that we all know the Pomodoro technique and stuff like that, but we started experimenting with something called the 5-minute timers. So quick decisions were taken, good, bad, ugly, we'll pick it up, but we want timeline consistency is what everybody said. And so that's how the 5-minute timer really worked well. So here is another approach that we can look at. You might say to me, if we don't have data, how will I take a decision? So the earlier slide talked about if you have a timeline, you can act on it. Depending upon the timeline, break it up into 20, 60, 20, right? Here's another technique which will help you identify what to do. So if you have around 70% of the data, right? If it's a small decision, decide instantly. Medium decision, take 10 to 15 minutes. And if it's a massive decision, take a maximum of 1 to 2 days. You see, it's all about the metrics. It's all about the numbers, because we as humans, we respond very, very well to numbers. All right. I want your honest opinion on this, because when I've used this particular, framework with others, I've got mixed reactions. I've got questions like, how do I know whether the data I have is 70%? How do I know it's a small decision? How do I know it's a medium decision? How do I know it's a big decision? Definite, these are all very, very valid questions. I'm not denying it. For thought, for psychology, for any kind of cognitive behavior, we use metrics only to support our thought process. We use it only to enhance our self-awareness. We use it only to push ourselves to act in a certain way. You can never go and tell a person, hey, I think you're 50% smart. Can you say that? There's no chance. You can't. Right? So these are all, just numbers which are out there, and the objective of these numbers is to nudge you. Somewhere along the way, when you're falling into that loop, when you're having that when you have identified that there's this trap, that I'm doing all this, you may ask your question, hey, do I have 70% data? Do I have 70% input information? Okay, I do. Then if it's a very small decision, right? Very, very simple one. Do I use Arial or do I use Calibri font? Decide it instantly. Nothing matters. If it's a medium decision, right? What is the report format that I'm going to submit my report in? Then take some time, 10 to 15. If you are pitching to a client, for example, right, take 1 or 2 days. If you are presenting to senior leadership, take 1 or 2 days. And that's how you break up that entire piece. So it's your choice. You can either pick this or you can pick this. And here's another very interesting technique, which is called the decision filter. Ask yourself 3 questions. Will this matter in 1 week? Do I have enough information? What is the worst realistic outcome? Worst outcome. So someone very smart in my life once told me, prepare for the worst and reach your goal. But once you've already created the visual of the worst situation, nothing else really matters. And you have prepped yourself to face the worst situation, right? So choosing between these 2 approaches, instead of looping, apply this filter and quickly decide faster. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's look at rewiring perfectionism, right? It's perfectionism. I want to do it really well. And that's why I'm giving it my 100%. All this doesn't really matter. So I know, though not directly related to the overthinking piece, here's something very interesting called the 4-burner theory. Is there anyone in this group who knows what the 4-burner theory is? All right. So life is like a stove with 4 burners, right? You have only one gas connection. Gas is a very difficult word these days. So let me just call it LPG gas to actually hype the story, because everybody will be interested the moment I use the words LPG. Okay, so life is like that. There is one burner, which is your professional burner. There is another burner, which is, say, your personal burner. The other is your physical burner. And the third and the fourth could be your social burner, your interactions, your relationships, and so on. But the logic that flows is, it may not be like the typical stove that we have at home, but since the output from the energy is standard, there could be a day where your professional burner is doing the best, but at that point in time, your personal burner, your social burner, and the other burner is not extinguished, but they are performing at lower capability. So you always have it. You always can reframe your thinking from, what if this goes wrong? What is the next best step? Or am I a really horrible professional? Or many a time, because I'm spending so much of time on this, I'm not giving enough attention to that. So reframe that entire perfectionism. Every burner will not burn bright and shine. You can't have it all. That is a given, right? So try to understand that done is more than perfection. When you're aiming for perfection, one person's perfectionism is not the perfectionism of the other person. Let me ask all of you a very fun question, and for every single person who's on this call, I will need a response. Now the question is very simple. Don't be worried. It's not a trick question like 13 by 2. It's a very simple question, right? And the answer, you know how long you have to give the answer? 2 seconds. Okay. So here's my question. What's your favorite color? Blue, pink, purple, yellow, blue. So Sheila, everybody says blue is good. Oh, Deepali is having beige. Everybody is saying blue. Then yellow is not a good color, Sheila. You have to rethink your favorite color. Can you make it blue, please? Sheila, question for you. Yes, no, maybe.
Sure, blue, yellow. A mix
No,
of blue
Sheila,
and yellow.
everybody's saying blue is their favorite color. Can you make your favorite blue your favorite color?
No, I'll
No.
still remain with yellow.
Why, Sheila? I think everybody's saying, see, Jairam said that, Abhijit said that, they all like blue, then why do you like yellow? You shouldn't. You know why I picked you? Because yellow is my favorite too.
Oh, great.
Okay, so that brings me to this point, like, you know, what is perfect for you may not be perfect for someone else. It's not just a question of a color. It can be the question of how a report format looks like. It can be a question of, even a song, for example. I'm an amazing singer, guys. Shall I give you a sample? No. But I think I'm an amazing singer, but I've been told by a lot of people that they can't sleep for 3 days if they hear me singing. So who's right? I'm perfect according to me. Okay. So remember, get the job done. Don't aim so much for perfection. Now I'm looking at these 3 strategies. I want to keep reminding you multiple number of times. First, look at the timelines and make those kind of decisions which will really help you, structure your thoughts better. The second one, think of how much data you actually have and decide instantly, take some time or a couple days. And then finally, do not focus on perfection, because getting things done is much more important than being perfect. All right. So how do we do this mental reset? This is something which has worked really well for a lot of people. So here's a daily mental reset system. Now, of course, in the morning, I always put an exercise because it's absolutely important. See, that's the thing which will fuel your brain. I'm not saying a 1-hour exercise or a yoga or a strength training, whatever. Some kind of physical movement is something which will support to reduce your anxiety as well, right? So start off in the morning after your exercise, set 3 priorities, 3 outcomes that you need to achieve every day. While you're working, set some blocks for deep work wherein you're working and nothing. In the afternoon, check the progress once. Of the 3 priorities, how many did I get done? In the evening, write a small reflection of what worked, what didn't. At night, no screens. Just get very, very real and get this piece done, right? This is a sample. This is from one of the recent studies that was done. Okay, I don't want to bore you with who, what, when, where, but this is something that really helped. And the sample size of this was close to 7,000. So this is something which helped people become less anxious and reduce their overthinking. All right. Now, I'm looking for a response and a sentence which says, one situation I will stop overthinking is. I want each one of you to complete that sentence. That sentence says, one situation in which I will stop overthinking is. I want you to take a moment and complete that. I'm also going to write. Okay. Family future. Okay, so you all given me a lot of responses. So you will stop overthinking, okay. But we also spoke about one thing, and that was about the action that you would take, right? So I'm looking at some of your responses. Rahila says family crisis. So you will stop overthinking about the family crisis. My question is, what is the action you will take? Right? Divya, likewise, to not overthink about your interviews, what is the one action that you will take? Smita, to enjoy your time with your friends, you will stop worrying about it, but what's the one action you will take? Likewise, are you getting my approach, what I'm thinking? Now, you've put in the situation where you will stop overthinking. I want you to next write to me, what is that one action that you will take? Are you able to understand my question?
I'll try to be in present time.
Awesome. Very good. That's brilliant. Okay. Others? What's one action that you would take? I have Smita's response. What about the rest of you? I'm sure you're typing, so I'm going to wait. Take one thing at a time. That's amazing. Okay. Okay, so how will you divert it, Deepali? Okay, what other priorities, Rahila? I want you to commit to some very specific action items by focusing on present and on your job. Okay. Okay, that sounds interesting. I once coached someone. Okay, I will be more specific. Okay, let me see my job. My daughter says she'll sleep. I love that. Sleep is something which turns your brain off completely. So I think, Smita, your daughter is the smartest of all of us. Divya, I'll do the required prep that needs to be done before going. Absolutely. Being more specific. Correct? Got it. All right. Now that's about your mental reset. And I think this, if we were to look at a blueprint, right? If I am to look at what will I do? What are my specific action items? Set some rules for yourself. I had a very interesting, experience with one of my coaches. So I coached this person who was the CEO of a startup. And every time he went on an overthinking drive, he wrote the numbers 1 to 25. That's hilarious. It does not make any sense. There's no logic to it. But it's very, very interesting of how it impacted him. So the first things that we worked for a longer time with him. We tried and identified what are the triggers which get him started on that overthinking. It can be wanting to be perfect. It can be, wanting to be the best. It can be typically how's my peer group going to, respond to this kind of a thing. It can be anything. So every one of you have a trigger. So the moment you identify there is a trigger that has come, your overthinking loop is starting. How will you identify the overthinking loop? Are you actionizing anything from your thought? Right? If your thinking leads to action, then that is strategic thinking. That is what each one of us must do. And then at the end, what is the action? So think with limits, act fast, review daily. So you remember those couple of tools that we said, right? We looked at the 20-60-20 division. We looked at 70% data, how quickly you should take a decision kind of thing. So set these rules for yourself, identify the triggers, and make a mindset shift, right? You need clarity of action. Ongoing thinking will in no way make it better. And then finally, when you feel that you need support, now this is a very, very important thing. Talk it out to, I don't know whether I want to refer to you as a professional, but look at coaches who can help you out of those loops, right? Does that make sense? Are you now capable of identifying when you're overthinking? Are you capable of differentiating strategic thinking and overthinking? Are you now capable of actionizing? What is the next thing I should do? I don't care about the long term, after a month or after 2 months result. But what next? You know how to do that. You know the framework. You have the entire content with you, right? Okay. Next steps. Let's look at more. Are you up for a short?
Once upon a time.
It's a very small, maybe it's a kid story even, but this is yet another tool which will help you direct your thoughts in a better way. Please ping me or unmute and tell me if the audio is not visible. I'm playing this.
In a small village surrounded by mountains, there lived a 24-year-old young man named Marco.
Thank you.
Marco was very restless. His mind was always full of thoughts. All day long, different thoughts came and went, and these thoughts made him feel uneasy and tired. He always felt sad about his past and worried a lot about the future. Because of these thoughts, his mind was like a storm. He couldn't feel calm, couldn't sleep well, and even forgot how to smile. One day, Marco heard about a faraway village in the hills. People said that a wise old man lived there. That man used to be a famous psychologist in the city. He had helped many people in his life and had taught them how to find peace in their minds. Now he was old. He left the busy life of the city and started living in a quiet village close to nature. Sometimes he gave advice to visitors. Marco became curious and hopeful. He decided that he must go and meet that old man. He thought, maybe this wise man can help me find peace. After many days of a long and tiring journey, Marco reached the village in the hills. When he got there, he saw a small house covered with greenery. On the porch of the house, the old man was sitting quietly. His eyes were closed, and he looked very peaceful. Marco walked up to him and said softly, "Grandfather, my mind is very restless. I cannot stop thinking. I want peace in my heart. Can you help me?" The old man slowly opened his eyes and gave a calm smile. He said, "So, you are looking for peace? Then come with me. I will give you a small task. He took Marco to his little yard. Then he filled a glass with water, completely full to the top. The glass was so full that even a little shake would make the water spill. He gave the glass to Marco and said, "Walk from here to the edge of the village and then come back. But remember, you must not spill even one drop of water." Marco looked at him with surprise, but he wanted to do his best, so he accepted the challenge. He held the glass carefully and started walking. The road was narrow and busy. Some people were walking, some were running. Shopkeepers were calling customers and dogs were barking. But Marco did not look around. His eyes stayed only on the glass. He walked slowly and carefully, step by step. People looked at him with surprise, but no one disturbed him. They knew he was learning something important. Finally, Marco came back to the old man and said, "Grandfather, I did it. I didn't spill even one drop of water." The old man nodded and smiled. Then he asked, "That's good. But tell me, did you see the children playing on the side of the road? Did you hear the dogs barking?" Marco looked surprised and said, "No, I didn't see or hear anything. I was only focusing on the glass." The old man smiled again and said gently, "That is the secret. Something that was always inside you but you didn't know. When your mind stays in the present moment, then there is no space for fear, no confusion, and no extra thoughts. You were only thinking about the water in the glass. At that time, your mind became completely quiet. You were not sad about the past. You were not afraid of the future." Slowly, Marco began to understand. This was the peace he was searching for. Peace is not something we find outside. Peace is already inside us, when we live in the present moment. Marco bowed his head and said softly, "Grandfather, now I understand. If I want to calm my mind, I must keep my mind in this moment. That is when real peace comes." The old man smiled again. The sun was setting, and the last light touched the ground. Birds were flying back to their nests. Marco started walking back home. But now, he was not the same restless young man. He had changed. He was peaceful inside, because now he knew how to calm the mind. If you like the story, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one. Thank you for staying with us. See you in the next story with new thoughts and new lessons. Until then, stay well and
Okay, that was a wonderful story, right? Okay, and this is the final slide of it all, the 15th slide and the final one. There's no thank you slide here. You don't win by thinking more, you win by executing better. And that is it. And what are your action items? What are you going to take out of here? That would be wonderful for me to hear. Couple questions. I'd love to open the floor. If you have any questions, happy to take them. Yes, Dipali, always.
A very good evening, ma'am. So it's been a very common observation that professionals feel that they are mentally exhausted even without doing work.
Hmm.
So how much of this fatigue is actually related to overthinking?
Okay. That's
Is
actually
it like overthinking or is it pressure? What is it like?
That's a wonderful question. Something that I myself will have to think about for a moment. And the first thought that comes to my mind is whether you're enjoying what you're doing, right? It's not a luxury a lot of us would have, absolutely. But here's my approach, I've had this question as a part of certain other coaching conversations as well. And here's my question. Question A. Do you love what you do? Very less people love it so much. Itna bhi pasand nahi hai, but chalega types. I know a lot of our work is like that. But if you love your work, then you're mostly likely to be happy. And the overthinking might lead to that kind of pressure there, right? If you're not really happy with the job role that you're working on, especially in your professional sense, then it could be that, again, these are all theories of psychology, but there is an alternate thing which is demanding your attention. You remember I talked about the 4-burner theory. It may be very cliched, but let's say there's a requirement at home. Let's say someone is sick, or maybe a child needs your support, right? At that point in time, it's not overthinking. You're trying to balance your priorities. Now, next question, I'm sure, is if there are multiple priorities, how can I not overthink about each one of them, right? Do I do this? Do I do that? So when that kind of a question is coming to you, I want you to pick up on the tools that we discussed, how to divide it, how to time your decisions, and how to reach a decision. So I hope that answered your question. It may or may not be overthinking. It may be that you have multiple priorities that are demanding your attention.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Okay, I saw that a couple more. Where is the... Yeah, Megha, absolutely, anytime.
Hi, Kavita. I have one question over here. When we talk about overthinking, in the moment of overthinking, when we are overthinking at that time, not later, what is one simple reframing technique someone can actually use?
That's lovely. And I hope you're an NLP practitioner, because when we use the word reframing, that's really amazing, right? So this is something that, I faced very recently. So, this is my bread and butter. I present for a living, and I've been doing this for 20 years. I very recently had to present to the CFO of a Fortune 500 company. And guess what? Just like the rest of the world, I was very confident, but somehow my knees were shaking. Right? Bilkul confident nahi thi, and I was pretty scared, and I did every single thing that person I was telling you about, that she was me actually. Reframing the presentations a zillion times, asking 10 people what they think, and so on and so forth. And so how did I reframe my approach is just by thinking. My question was more around, what if I don't get it right? Let me ask Jairam, let me ask Sheila, let me ask Cynthia. That was my original approach. And then I reframed my thinking to, yeah, I've done it a couple times. A CFO is a human at the end of the day, right? They have a certain set of questions, they want answers. That's pretty much it. And I've responded to answers a zillion times, so I think I can do it. What's the worst that can happen, right? So I think that part of a reframing, from reframing to what if I fail, to, hey, I've done it enough times, I'm fairly competent to get this. That kind of reframing is something which will help. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kavita.
Always. Yeah. Yeah, Divya?
Yes. Hi, Kavita. So I have a question. So for someone who has been overthinking for long years, so yes, I've recognized that I'm overthinking. So, but then to realistically start working on it and stop overthinking. So what is the first step that I need to take?
Okay. So there's, I'm sure many of you would have heard of this book, Atomic Habits, right? Now, what I loved from that book is it doesn't go and, say you go, for example, you're taking exercise. That's the biggest Kalesh giver in all our lives, I think, right? Everybody's saying exercise, do this, do that, and then the whole day goes, and we're saying, Acha, not at 7, I'll do it at 8, then at 10, then at 5 p.m., and the whole day goes, right? So I'm taking that as an example, and of course, I'm going to come back and respond to you. So what he says, and one of the things that I loved about that particular example is that he wrote, it says, if you want to work out every day, don't go and buy a gym membership or, any one of those subscriptions. Take out your pair of shoes and put it beside your bed every single day. So that 0.01% of the action that you do, that will eventually compound into something bigger. Now, I'm a constant overthinker, let's say. And every moment, in every situation, I'm doing that overthinking piece. Now, in my head, how would I approach it? Step 1, identify the trigger. What is the specific thing which triggers me and gets me started on the entire overthinking piece? Once you identified it, look at one of the tools that we talked about, either the timepiece, or you can look at that, do I have 70% data? Let me take a quick decision. And don't think about, how much impact of the decision, how well you have to take it. Just think in terms of the action, right? Many a time I speak to a lot of my coaches about the 10-10-10 rule. That's a patented Kavita rule. So if you're using it, you have to, send me a lot of funds for that. So when you've said or doing or, pushing for something, think about how you will remember the same activity after 10 minutes. Okay. Right now I'm doing my session. Let's say I'm really petrified of doing a bad job. While I'm doing 10 minutes into the session, if I'm doing a horrible job, okay, it's called in Hindi, I think it's called Izzat Kachra. It's all gone. So my first 10 is brutal. Now let's look at this 10 weeks later. 10 weeks down the line, if I have really done one session very bad, I'm going to probably think, that went really bad. But then 10 months down the line, will I even remember it? No chance. Right? So this 10-10-10 principle really helps me also reframe a lot of situations, because we have a tendency to, assume that everything will be worst. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Of course. Rahila, you're up.
Yeah, hello, Kavita ma'am. Yeah, my question is that people often assume that confident individuals don't overthink. So is that true, or they do things differently?
Okay. Would you define me as a confident individual?
Confident individual, someone who
Me.
you definitely I would.
Okay. Oh God, that came very fast. And then I can tell you pakka and with 100% guarantee, we are great actors.
Oh, okay.
Hide the overthinking part very well.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Anyone else?
Yes, ma'am. I also have a few questions that we got from participants who could not join the session.
Sure.
So, ma'am, why do you think high-performing or smart individuals tend to overthink more than others? Is it awareness or pressure?
Look, it's a pattern, right? How do you become a high-performing individual? You've done something really good. Now, when you've done something really good, the first time, the second time it's expected. So you do probably a little bit better and better. So it becomes a pattern, it becomes a cycle. And then the expectation that you put on yourself to keep increasing the 10%, that is the thing which leads to overthinking. But you can only increase by 10% 10 times. 100% के बाद क्या होगा? Nothing. Right. Yeah. Megha?
And
Sorry, Insia. Maybe just take it from Megha.
Yes, I have one more question for you, Kavita. What happens is lot of overthinking mostly comes from what people will think about us from that. So, how can someone practically reduce this without becoming careless?
I call it the L2K syndrome. Frankly, I belong to that generation wherein, we are deeply conditioned to consider how other people will think. While it's very easy for me to give you a lot of gyan saying you are your own individual and it doesn't really matter, the bottom line is it does matter because we are in a cultural society like that. Again, I want to take you back to the four burner. Right? If your professional fire is burning, you tell yourself only this, that today my parent fire is not in a good place, or my daughter fire is not in a good place, or I am not supporting myself, I will come back to it. Whenever you're hearing a critical kind of comment about what you're doing, especially from others, think of the positive aspect also. What is the positive aspect of the action that you're taking? And that is something you have to frame inside your head only, because na Megha, bahar se koi aake nahi bolta hai, wow, great job, Megha. No, very rarely happens. If you have such people in your life, amazing. Yeah?
Yes. Yes. Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And ma'am, one last question, if you don't mind.
Of course.
And when does thinking things through cross the line into self-sabotage?
Self-sabotage, huh? Okay, I think we pretty much answered that in the whole session, right? If you are not able to come out of that loop at all, if you're not able to take any action, then it's absolute self-sabotage, right? If there is some action that is coming out of it, then it's okay. It just means that you've thought a little bit more and a little bit extra. Yeah. All right, so that was a good session. I have a couple minutes more, so maybe if I can hear one line about what you plan to practice or what your thought process was, I'd love to hear it. I know Insia wants to share a Mentimeter form, and we will of course give you time for that. But meanwhile, thanks for the lovely claps. Thanks, Abhijit. Okay. Looking at the bigger side of thought loops that will keep you rooted, amazing, wonderful. Yes, Sujata got that right too. Okay. Yes, Divya, I love that as well, right? Done is greater than perfect. And see, Divya, that was what I was looking at as well, when in the whole 90 minutes, there is one sentence which kind of really hits you. And trust me when I tell you this, in your hard times, when you're doing that loop thing, this will come back to you. And it's a promise. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Dipali saying 70%. Yeah. Insia, over to you. You can pick up on the Mentimeter.
Thanks, you, ma'am. Before I conclude today's session, I would request all of you to please click the Mentimeter link that I'm posting in the chat right now, and do the polls. I'm sorry, there is some trouble. I cannot share my screen though. It's there.
Tech challenge is the best of us, Insia. Don't worry at all.
Yes. I don't know what is happening today.
No problem. That's completely.
But we are getting the polls.
Maybe if you could just share the results orally, that would be just great.
Sure, ma'am.
Insia, should I try to share the screen because I can get the...
Ma'am, I did try it twice, but something is stuck. I don't know what is happening.
Okay, let me try because I have the results.
Yes, ma'am, got it. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Great.
Sure. It's interesting to see 10 responses on the first question and 8 on the second. Fair enough. That was nice and lovely. Thank you, everyone. It's been a wonderful and a very, very interactive session. Thanks a ton, Insia, for enabling this and having me. That's all from my end.
Thank you, Kavita, ma'am. That was extremely relatable and practical. And I think one big takeaway from today is that overthinking is not a weakness, it's just a mismanaged strength. The same mind that creates anxiety can also create clarity if we learn how to direct it instead of getting trapped in it. Also, I have posted a few Atulit Academy links in the chat. Do check it out. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. Thank you, Kavita ma'am, once again, to help us turn overthinking into something far more empowering. So, have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.